All right, this is somewhere between an infomercial and a sales pitch and a piece of documentation on the 4-link setup that I'm developing for this scooter right here. I have owned a number of these e-bodies, and this is my other car, which is a leaf spring car. So I'm very familiar with how they ride, and that car right there has done power tour twice. And I'm not saying they're bad, but I also own a 72 442 clone, and I've owned a bunch of GMA bodies, and they all ride a lot nicer than leaf spring cars do, which is what started this. I wanted to do a 4-link for this car because it's going to end up with a late model drivetrain in it. And there are 4 links available for these cars, and they're from very reputable people. The thing I didn't like about it too much was, of course, that all the parts were just for that one thing. A lot of the aftermarket 4-link setups have Panhard bars in them, and Panhard bars make routing the exhaust out the back of the car a challenge quite often. So that led me to the fact that the GMA body stuff looks like it might fit. So it actually turned out to be a lot better than I ever could have imagined. This is a stock 72 Cutlass, which is just a GMA body rear end, straight out of a buddy of mine's pile of parts that has been stuck in the car. Kind of the first thing you should know is that this GMA body axle assembly, hub to hub, flange to flange, is 61 1/4 inches. The stock E-body housing is 61 5/8. So there's 3/8 of an inch difference. That's virtually nothing. The next thing is there are a lot of good parts available for the GMA body cars as far as pro touring stuff. All the stuff that I've bolted this into this car with is UMI. That I have upper and lower control arms with Delron joints, or Delrain, or how you say it, which ride a little better than metal Heim joints do, and allow for a lot more articulation. In this particular swap, that's necessary in the lower control arms. I'll show you in just a second. But the parts that are, other than that, which is a second one, I made 2 of them, which is the front brace, all the rest of the stuff is off-the-shelf parts. There's for a company, for example, that was already making these parts, you would basically have to make that front brace is all you have to make. The rear end availability is in 4 to 9 inches, can be bought straight off the shelf or Chevelle in any flavor you want. If you want something that looks like a Chrysler, Strange makes Dana 60 new with these eyelets on the top of it. You can buy a Dana 60 for a Chevelle that would go straight in this car, and from the back look correct. And of course you could put a 12 bolt in it if you wanted. I personally feel like maybe in an autocross situation the 12 bolt might be the best piece because it's lighter. I think there's less unsprung weight than anything else, and I think that would be important. But I could be wrong. All aluminum 9-inch might be the same weight. I really don't know. But this car is almost certainly going to end up with a 9-inch in the back. So the next thing to talk about is what you gain besides just the ride. The other nice thing you gain is you no longer have a leaf spring back here. And in e-bodies, the leaf spring is staggered. It's wider in the back than it is the front. Your tire's clearance issue is right about there, because your tire will literally run out of room and hit the leaf spring. And you can put relocators in it and get that inch back. But basically, since this is behind this line right here, you now are only limited by the wheel well housing. In other words, as much back spacing as you can get into the hole, which is at least another inch. This car has 285s on it, and right there I can stick my finger. Right there, where the leaf spring is. That's what's limiting. In other words, I probably can't get anything much wider than that and be able to count on it. My intention is to put 325s in this car, mini tub it out another inch here, and it's going to be a lot of work for an inch, which is terrible, but that's what I'm going to do. But that has nothing to do with this conversion. This conversion is all bolt-in. This is a stock length for a Chevelle GMA body, lower control arm with what they call, I think they call Johnny joints. And as you can see, hopefully, it is actually, for the mock-up purposes, bolted in the stock eyelet for the leaf springs. In other words, this is almost exactly the same length as the leaf spring is. I mean, maybe like 1/8 of an inch difference. It's amazing. I'm probably going to relocate the mounting point in the front to get a little bit better instant center on the car. Although, to be honest with you, the way it's set up right now, all the mock-up work was done. This is an inch, almost an inch up from stock ride height, which is kind of where I usually set all my angles and stuff from. And so I don't, it's going to be very close to level at the correct ride height with 27-inch tall tires. The next thing is the actual, I'm going to run coilovers, and these are Ride Techs, and this is Ride Tech's bracket for a Chevelle. I've got one over here I can show you. There's almost everybody makes these coilover kits. I picked theirs because I just liked the way the bracket looked. It's a very nice bracket. It's very well put together. It also might move the mounting point in a little bit more than everybody else's, which helps with shock angle. What's hilarious is this is a 6.5-inch travel or 6.2-inch travel shock from them, and the shock angle is really good, and that's bolted to the stock the stock shock location and the stock shock cross member in this car. I'm going to reinforce the mounting point in the brace, because I think, well, it's as good as a lot of other cars are. I'm a little worried that over time there might be some fatigue in the hole, so I will be doing a brace to go into that and help disperse the load. But other than dispersing the load, I don't really think there's anything that needs to be done. And the nice thing about that is you are one less thing to have to manufacture or produce to make this happen. So the one piece that is required is this cross member right here. I chose to use the stock length for these upper control arms so that I could keep the stock GM geometry. In other words, this is tuning